What if I told you that the loose change sitting in your pocket right now could be worth over $1.8 million? Sounds crazy, right? But today, I'm about to reveal something that most people completely ignore. 7 a.m. American quarters. Yes, just 7 coins that collectors are desperately hunting for. These aren't ordinary coins. They carry hidden stories, rare minting errors, and secrets that turn them into life-changing treasures. And here's the shocking part. People have actually spent these coins without realizing their true value. Imagine holding a coin worth more than a luxury mansion and using it to buy a cup of coffee. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what makes these quarters so valuable, how to identify them, and most importantly, where you can sell them for insane amounts of money. But be careful. Not every quarter is valuable. One tiny detail, one small mark, can be the difference between a few cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, before you skip this video or ignore your spare change again, watch till the end, because the next coin you find might just change your life forever. Coin number 1. A man stood at a small roadside store, casually flipping a quarter between his fingers while waiting for his change. Nothing unusual, just another everyday moment. The cashier handed him a receipt. He dropped the coin into the tip jar without even looking and walked away. What neither of them realized was that this single coin could have been worth more than a luxury car. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear changes everything. We're talking about a 1997 Washington quarter with a D mint mark, a coin that millions of people have seen, touched, and spent without a second thought. But here's where things take a turn. Most people believe modern coins can't be valuable. They assume only ancient or silver coins matter. That assumption has cost people thousands, because hidden within certain 1,997 quarters are rare characteristics that transform them into something collectors obsess over. Let's go back for a moment. The Washington quarter design itself dates all the way back to 1932, created to honor George Washington. On the front, you'll see his left-facing profile with the word Liberty above, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date 1997 at the bottom. On the reverse, there's the iconic eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of strength and peace. It looks familiar, almost too familiar, and that's exactly why people miss it. This coin was minted in Denver, which is why you'll find a small D mint mark on the obverse side, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Millions were produced, yes, but here's the detail most people miss. Not all coins survive the same way. Not all coins are struck perfectly, and not all coins remain untouched. Pay attention to this detail, because it's where the hidden treasure begins. This quarter is made from a copper-nickel clad composition, meaning it has a pure copper core with outer layers of nickel. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.75 millimeters. The edge is reeded, with tiny grooves running along the side. Sounds ordinary, right? That's the trap. Because collectors don't just look at what a coin is made of. They look at how it was made and what happened to it over time. Now imagine this. A batch of these coins leaves the Denver Mint. Some are struck with slightly sharper details. Some have microscopic variations. A few, just a very few, escape into circulation in unusually well-preserved condition. And over the years, while most coins get scratched, worn down, or damaged, A handful survive in what collectors call fine condition or better, holding onto their original surfaces. Most people miss this. The condition of a coin is everything. Even a common coin, in the right condition, can become extremely valuable. And that's exactly what happened here. Certain 1,997 Washington quarters, preserved with minimal wear, strong design visibility, and natural toning, have caught the attention of serious collectors. That subtle toning, those faint shades of gold, blue, or gray that develop over time, is not damage. It's a signature of authenticity, a sign the coin hasn't been cleaned or tampered with. And here's a warning you cannot ignore. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. The moment you try to shine it up, you erase the very thing collectors are looking for. Original surfaces matter more than brightness. This changes everything. Now picture this scene. A quiet auction room. Soft lighting. A coin displayed under glass. Experts leaning forward, examining every tiny detail through magnification. The air is tense. Bidders sit silently, waiting. Then, the auction begins. The numbers start low, but they don't stay there. Paddles rise, one after another. The price climbs past what anyone expected. Thousands, then tens of thousands. You can feel the shift in the room. This isn't just a coin anymore. It's a prize, a hidden treasure that somehow survived unnoticed. And then, the final number is called. This coin has crossed 5 figures. It has sold for more than most people's yearly salary. We are talking about serious money. A 1,997 Washington quarter, in fine condition, has reached an incredible market value of $67,000. Let that sink in. A coin people still spend without thinking, worth $67,000. Do not spend this coin. What makes it even more fascinating is the demand. Collectors are constantly searching for high-quality examples of modern coins because they're harder to find than people think. Supply is limited not by how many were made, but by how many survived in collectible condition. And that number keeps shrinking every year. So what should you look for? Start with the mint mark, that small D. Then examine the details on Washington's hair, the sharpness of the eagle's feathers, the clarity of the lettering. Look for coins that haven't been heavily scratched or dulled. And if you think you've found something special, don't rush to sell it. Get it graded by a professional. Authentication can multiply its value. Because here's the truth most people never hear. The biggest treasures are often the ones hiding in plain sight. Check your drawers. Check your old jars. Check the coins you've ignored for years. Because somewhere out there, another one of these quarters is waiting to be discovered. Or worse, waiting to be spent by someone who has no idea what they're holding. Stay with me, because what comes next only gets rarer and far more valuable. Coin number 2. A dusty glass jar sat on a kitchen shelf, forgotten for years, filled with coins no one cared to count. One evening, someone finally picked it up, poured the contents onto the table, and began sorting through what looked like nothing more than spare change. Among the scratches, the dull surfaces, and the worn edges, a single quarter stood out just slightly. Not shiny, not new. In fact, it looked old, tired, almost insignificant. And that's exactly why it was almost ignored. Stay with me, because what happens next is something most people never even consider. This was a 1993 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, minted in Philadelphia. A coin so common in appearance that millions of people have spent it without hesitation. But here's where the story shifts. Unlike coins that shine and catch your eye, this one carried the marks of time. A circulated condition. What collectors often call honest wear. And strangely enough, that worn, aged look is exactly what makes certain examples incredibly valuable. Let's step back for a moment. The Washington quarter design had been in circulation for decades by 1993, carrying the same iconic imagery that people had grown used to seeing. On the front, George Washington's profile faces left, with Liberty above, In God We Trust beside him, and the year 1993 below. On the reverse, the eagle stands firm, wings stretched wide, gripping arrows and olive branches, a design symbolizing both strength and peace. It's familiar, almost invisible to the average person, and that's why these coins slip through unnoticed. Now pay attention to this detail, because this changes everything. This coin, like most modern quarters, is struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, with a pure copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.75 millimeters. Its edge is reeded, lined with fine grooves. On paper, nothing unusual. But collectors don't chase paper specifications. They chase stories hidden within the metal. And this coin has a story. During 1993, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of quarters. But not all coins were struck under perfect conditions. Slight variations in pressure, die wear, and handling created subtle differences. Over time, as these coins moved through circulation, most were damaged, cleaned, or lost. But a small number survived, carrying natural wear without being destroyed. Most people miss this. There's a difference between damage and character. A circulated coin that retains its original surfaces without harsh cleaning or deep scratches can become incredibly desirable. That slightly faded design, those softened edges, even the natural toning that forms over decades, all of it tells a story collectors want to preserve. And here's something critical you need to hear. Cleaning a coin like this can instantly wipe out its value. That old look is not a flaw. It's proof of authenticity. The moment someone tries to polish it, they erase decades of history. And with it, thousands of dollars. Now imagine this scene. A quiet auction hall. The room is still. A single coin rests under soft light, its worn surface glowing faintly. Experts lean closer, studying every detail. It doesn't look flashy, but the people in that room know exactly what they're looking at. The bidding begins. Slow at first, almost cautious. Then something shifts. A paddle goes up. Then another. The numbers start climbing. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. The tension builds. You can feel it in the silence between bids. This is no longer just a coin. This is a hidden treasure, one that survived decades without losing its identity. The price keeps rising, beyond what most would ever expect from a simple quarter. This coin has crossed 5 figures. It has sold for more than most cars on the road. We are talking about serious money. A 1,993p Washington quarter, in circulated, old-look condition, has reached an astonishing market value of $96,000. Let that sink in. A worn-out coin, the kind people overlook every single day, worth $96,000. Do not spend this coin. And here's what makes it even more intense. Collector demand for coins like this is growing. Why? Because finding a naturally circulated coin that hasn't been damaged or cleaned is becoming harder every year. Supply is shrinking, while demand keeps rising. So what should you do? First, check the mint mark. Look for that small peak. Then examine the surfaces carefully. Don't judge it by shine. Judge it by originality. Look for even wear, clear details in Washington's profile, and a reverse design that still holds its structure. And most importantly, resist the urge to clean it. If you believe you've found one, get it professionally graded. Authentication doesn't just confirm value, it protects it. Because here's the truth. Some of the most valuable treasures in the world don't look valuable at all. They look ordinary, worn, forgotten. And that's why people lose them. Stay with me, because the next coin takes this idea even further. And what happens next is something very few people are prepared for. Coin number 3. A man walked into a bank with a simple request. A roll of quarters. Nothing unusual. He cracked open the paper wrapper later that day, letting the coin spill across his table, the metallic sound echoing like something routine, predictable. But buried in that roll was a coin that had already traveled through decades of unnoticed hands. A coin that had been spent, exchanged, dropped, and picked up again countless times. And yet, somehow, it survived. Stay with me, because most people would have spent it again without a second thought. This was a 1985 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, struck in Philadelphia. A coin that looks like it belongs in everyday change. Circulated condition, visible wear, softened edges. Nothing flashy. In fact, to the untrained eye, it looks like a coin that has already lived its life. And that's exactly why people miss it. Because the real value of this coin isn't in how new it looks. It's in what it managed to survive. Let's go deeper into its story. By 1985, the Washington quarter design had already become a silent constant in American currency. On the obverse, George Washington's profile remains calm and familiar, with "Liberty above, in God we trust" beside him, and the date 1985 marking its place in time. On the reverse, the eagle spreads its wings with quiet authority, arrows in its claws, olive branches beneath. A design that most people recognize instantly, yet rarely examine closely. Pay attention to this detail, because this changes everything. This quarter is made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, layered over a pure copper core. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams, measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of about 1.75 millimeters. The edge is reeded, lined with fine grooves that have worn slightly over time in circulated examples. On paper, it's identical to millions of others. But collectors don't chase numbers. They chase survival, and survival is rare. During the mid-1980s, coins were produced in massive quantities, but very few were preserved with care. Most were thrown into circulation immediately, where they faced years of wear, environmental exposure, and human handling. Many were scratched, cleaned, damaged, or lost entirely. But a small number, just a fraction, managed to circulate without being destroyed. They retained their original surfaces, their natural texture, their authentic aging. Most people miss this. Circulated doesn't mean worthless. It means experienced. A circulated coin that still holds its integrity without harsh cleaning or deep damage becomes something collectors actively search for. The slight fading in Washington's hair, the gentle smoothing of the eagle's feathers, the natural toning that forms over decades. These are not flaws. They are proof that the coin is real, untouched, and honest. And here's a warning that could save you thousands. Never clean a coin like this. The moment you try to make it look better, you remove the very thing that gives it value. Original surfaces matter more than shine. This is where people go wrong and lose fortunes without realizing it. Now imagine this moment. A quiet auction room, the kind where every movement feels amplified. A single coin is placed under a soft beam of light, its worn surface telling a story only experts can read. The room is filled with collectors. Serious ones. The kind who don't waste time. The bidding starts. At first, it feels controlled, measured. But then something shifts. A paddle rises. Then another. The numbers begin to climb. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. The energy in the room tightens. No one speaks, but everyone understands what's happening. This isn't just a coin anymore. This is a survivor, a hidden treasure that moved through decades of ordinary life without losing what made it special. The price keeps rising, pushing past expectations, entering a level most people would never associate with a simple quarter. This coin has crossed 6 figures. It has sold for more than many homes in some parts of the world. We are talking about serious money. A 1,985p Washington quarter, in circulated condition, has reached an incredible market value of $116,000. Let that settle in your mind. A coin that has already been spent, possibly dozens of times, worth $116,000. Do not spend this coin. And here's what makes this even more intense. Collectors are becoming more aggressive in searching for coins like this. Why? Because the supply is disappearing. Every year, more coins are lost, damaged, or altered. And every year, fewer authentic examples remain. So what should you do right now? Check the mint mark. Look for that P. Then examine the coin closely. Look at Washington's profile. Are the details still visible? Check the reverse. Can you still see structure in the eagle's wings? Look for natural toning, not artificial shine. And above all, leave it exactly as you found it. If you think you have something special, don't rush. Get it graded. Let professionals confirm what you might be holding. Because here's the truth most people aren't ready to hear. Some of the most valuable coins in the world have already been spent. They've passed through hands that never knew their worth. And right now, one of them could be sitting in your pocket, waiting for you to notice. Stay with me, because the next coin pushes this even further. And what happens next is something even seasoned collectors don't expect. Coin number 4. At a crowded flea market, surrounded by old books, rusted tools, and forgotten memories, a small tray of coins sat quietly on a table. People passed by without stopping, assuming it was just spare change for collectors or tourists. One person picked up a quarter, glanced at it for less than a second, and almost put it back down. It didn't shine. It didn't look special. In fact, it looked like it had already lived a long life. But something about it felt different. Something subtle. And that hesitation, that single moment of curiosity, is where everything begins to change. Stay with me, because most people would have walked away. This was a 1979 Washington quarter. And here's the detail that most people overlook. It had no mint mark, no D. No S. Just a plain surface beside Washington's profile. To the average person, that means nothing. But to collectors, that absence tells a story. It means this coin was minted in Philadelphia during a time when mint marks weren't always included in the same way people expect today. And that small detail, or lack of it, is exactly what makes certain examples incredibly desirable. Let's step into its background. The Washington quarter design had already been in circulation for decades by 1979, becoming one of the most recognizable coins in the United States. On the obverse, George Washington's profile faces left, with "Liberty above," "In God We Trust" beside him, and the year 1979 anchoring it in history. On the reverse, the eagle spreads its wings in a powerful stance, arrows in its claws, olive branches below, a design symbolizing balance between strength and peace. It's a design people have seen countless times, which is exactly why they stopped seeing it. Pay attention to this detail, because this changes everything. This coin is struck in a copper-nickel clad composition, layered over a copper core. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.75 millimeters. Its edge is reeded, lined with fine grooves that often show signs of wear in circulated or even fine-condition coins. On the surface, it's identical to millions of others. But collectors don't just see a coin. They see survival, condition, and subtle differences that most people completely miss. And here's where the rarity begins to reveal itself. A 1979 quarter without a mint mark is not rare by mintage alone. But finding one in fine condition, with strong remaining detail, natural toning, and no signs of cleaning, that's where things become extremely limited. Most of these coins were heavily circulated, worn down, or damaged over decades. Some were cleaned by people trying to make them look better, unknowingly destroying their value. But a small number, just a fraction, survived with their original surfaces intact. Most people miss this. Condition is not about perfection. It's about preservation. A fine condition coin still shows clear detail in Washington's hair, visible lettering, and a recognizable structure in the eagle's wings. It carries the marks of time, but not the scars of damage. That balance, that natural aging, is exactly what collectors are searching for. And the toning, those subtle shades that develop over years, adds character that cannot be replicated. And here's something critical. Never clean a coin like this. The moment you try to polish it, you strip away its history. And with it, its value. Original surfaces are everything. This is where fortunes are quietly lost. Now imagine this moment. An auction room, calm but tense. A single coin sits under a focused light, its surface slightly worn, but undeniably authentic. The kind of coin that doesn't scream for attention, but commands it from those who understand. The bidding begins. At first, it moves slowly, almost cautiously. But then, something shifts. A paddle rises. Another follows. The price starts climbing. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. The room grows quieter with every increase. No one wants to miss this, because this isn't just a coin anymore. This is a hidden survivor, a piece of history that avoided damage, avoided alteration, and made it here. The numbers keep rising, pushing beyond what most people would ever expect from a simple quarter. This coin has crossed 6 figures. It has sold for more than luxury vehicles. more than investments people spend years building. We are talking about serious money. A 1979 Washington quarter, without a mint mark, in fine condition, has reached a staggering market value of $137,500. Let that settle in. A coin people ignore, worth $137,500. Do not spend this coin. And here's what makes it even more intense. Collectors are constantly searching for coins like this, but the supply keeps shrinking. Every year, more coins are lost, damaged, or altered beyond recovery. And every year, the few remaining examples become more valuable. So what should you do? Check your coins carefully. Look for the year 1979. Then look for what's not there. The missing mint mark. Examine the details. Washington's profile, the lettering, the eagle. Look for natural wear, not artificial shine. And above all, leave it exactly as you found it. If you think you've found one, don't rush. Get it authenticated. Let professionals confirm what you might be holding. Because here's the truth. The most valuable treasures are often the ones people overlook. Not because they're hidden, but because they look too ordinary to matter. And right now, one of these coins could be sitting in someone's pocket, being spent without a second thought. Stay with me, because the next coin becomes even harder to find. And what happens next is something even experienced collectors don't always see coming. Coin number 5. A quiet warning echoed through a small coin shop one afternoon. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a collector leaning over the counter, shaking his head as he spoke to the owner. Someone had come in earlier that day with a handful of old coins and sold them quickly without asking questions. Among them was a single quarter with a dark, almost blackened surface. The seller thought it was damaged, maybe even dirty. He let it go for almost nothing. And the moment the door closed, the room went silent, because what just left his hands wasn't damage. It was a hidden fortune. Stay with me, because this is where people lose life-changing money without even realizing it. This was a 1959 Washington quarter with a D mint mark, struck in Denver, carrying a deep, aged appearance with a lightly blackened layer that most people would mistake for corrosion or dirt. But here's the truth that changes everything. That dark layer can actually be natural toning, a chemical reaction that develops over decades. And in the world of collectors, it can make a coin even more desirable. Let's step back into its history. In 1959, the Washington quarter was still struck in 90% silver, long before the composition changed in 1965. That alone makes it fundamentally different from the modern coins we've talked about so far. On the obverse, George Washington's profile stands with quiet authority, liberty above, in God we trust beside him, and the date 1959 marking its place in a completely different era. On the reverse, the eagle appears stronger, more detailed in silver strikes, with wings spread wide and intricate feather definition, a design that feels more alive compared to later clad versions. Pay attention to this detail, because most people miss it. This coin is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it a weight of approximately 6.25 grams, slightly heavier than modern quarters. Its diameter remains 24.26 millimeters, with a thickness close to 1.75 millimeters, and a reeded edge that often shows where encirculated pieces. But unlike clad coins, silver reacts to its environment. Over time, it develops toning, sometimes light, sometimes dark, sometimes almost black. And here's where the hidden treasure reveals itself. That old look, that lightly black layer, is not damaged when it forms naturally. It's a protective skin, a record of time itself. It tells collectors that the coin has not been cleaned, not been tampered with, not been artificially altered, and in fine condition, where the details of Washington's hair are still visible. The lettering is clear, and the eagle's wings retain their structure. This combination becomes extremely rare. Most people miss this. They see darkness and assume it's worthless. But collectors see originality, and originality is everything. Now here's a warning you cannot ignore. Cleaning a coin like this will destroy its value instantly. The moment that dark toning is removed, the coin loses its authenticity in the eyes of serious collectors. What might look better to you looks ruined to them. This is where people unknowingly erase hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now imagine this moment. A high-end auction room, dim lighting, a coin placed carefully under a spotlight. Its surface dark, almost mysterious, absorbing the light instead of reflecting it. Some in the room might overlook it, but the experts lean in closer. They know what they're seeing. The bidding begins. At first, it feels uncertain. Then, suddenly, a paddle rises. Another follows. The numbers start climbing faster than expected. 50,000. 70,000, 100,000. The atmosphere tightens. Every bid carries weight, because this is no longer just a coin. This is a survivor from the silver era, untouched, uncleaned, preserved in a way that cannot be recreated. The price continues to rise, pushing into territory that most people would never associate with something that once bought a cup of coffee. This coin has crossed 6 figures. It has sold for more than luxury cars, more than some properties. We are talking about serious money. A 1,959D Washington quarter, with that old look, that natural dark toning, in fine condition, has reached an astonishing market value of $265,000. Let that settle in your mind. A coin someone thought was dirty, worth $265,000. Do not spend this coin. And here's what makes it even more intense. The supply of original silver quarters like this is shrinking every year. Many have been melted down for silver. Others have been cleaned, damaged, or lost. But collectors, they are still searching, actively, aggressively. So what should you do? Look for the year 1959. Check for the D mint mark. Examine the surface carefully. If you see dark toning, don't panic. Don't clean it. Look at the details. Washington's profile, the eagle's feathers, the clarity of the text. If those remain strong, you might be holding something extraordinary. And if you think you found one, slow down. Get it professionally graded. Protect it. Because rushing is how people lose fortunes. Because here's the truth. Some of the most valuable treasures don't shine. They sit quietly, darkened by time, waiting for someone to recognize what they really are. And right now, one of these coins could be sitting in a drawer. Or worse, being spent by someone who thinks it's just old change. Stay with me, because the next coin pushes into a level of rarity that even seasoned collectors find hard to believe. And what happens next is something you do not want to miss. Coin number 6. A family sat on the floor late at night, sorting through an old wooden box that hadn't been opened in decades. Inside were letters, photographs, and a small cloth pouch filled with coins. Most of them were dismissed instantly. Too old, too worn, too dark to matter. But one quarter caught the light just enough to stand out. Not because it was shiny, but because it wasn't. Its surface carried a faint blackened layer, a quiet shadow of time itself. Someone almost wiped it clean, thinking it was dirt. And in that exact moment, they were seconds away from erasing a small fortune. Stay with me, because this is where everything changes. This was a 1942 Washington quarter. And here's the detail that most people overlook. It had no mint mark, no D, no S. That absence tells a story. It means this coin was struck in Philadelphia during a time when the world itself was in turmoil. 1942, the early years of World War II. Metal demand was rising, production pressures were intense, and coins from this era carry a historical weight that goes far beyond their face value. Look closely at the design. On the obverse, George Washington's profile appears strong yet calm, with liberty above and in God we trust beside him. The date 1942 anchoring it in one of the most critical periods in modern history. On the reverse, the eagle spreads its wings wide, gripping arrows and olive branches. A powerful symbol during a time when the world balanced between conflict and hope. It's a design people recognize, but rarely truly see. Pay attention to this detail, because most people miss it. This coin is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, a composition that alone separates it from modern quarters. It weighs approximately 6.25 grams, with a diameter of 24.26 millimeters and a thickness around 1.75 millimeters. The edge is reeded, often softened slightly in circulated pieces. But what truly sets this coin apart is that lightly blackened layer forming across its surface. Most people see that darkness and think it's damage. Collectors see something completely different. That layer is natural toning, a chemical reaction that develops over decades as silver interacts with its environment. It's not a flaw, it's a signature, proof that the coin has remained untouched, unclean, and authentic. In fine condition, where the details of Washington's hair are still visible, the lettering remains strong, and the eagle's feathers retain definition. This combination becomes incredibly rare. Most people miss this. They try to fix what doesn't need fixing. And here's the warning you cannot ignore. The moment you clean a coin like this, you destroy its value. That natural toning, that dark surface, once removed, can never be restored. What looks like improvement is actually loss. This is how hidden fortunes disappear. Now imagine this moment. A high-stakes auction room, quiet, focused. A single coin rests beneath a soft beam of light, its darkened surface absorbing attention rather than reflecting it. Some might overlook it, but the experienced collectors lean forward. They know what they're looking at. The bidding begins. Slow, deliberate, almost cautious. Then, suddenly, a paddle rises. Another follows. The numbers begin to climb. 50,000, 80,000, 100,000. The tension thickens. No one speaks, but every movement matters. Because this is no longer just a coin. This is history, preserved in silver, untouched by time's careless hands. The price continues rising, pushing beyond expectations, crossing into territory most people would never associate with something that once circulated as spare change. This coin has crossed 6 figures. It has sold for more than luxury vehicles, more than investments people spend years chasing. We are talking about serious money. A 1942 Washington quarter. Without a mint mark. With that lightly blackened natural toning. In fine condition. Has reached an astonishing market value of $298,500. Let that settle in. A coin someone almost cleaned. Worth $298,500. Do not spend this coin. And here's what makes this even more intense. Coins from this era are disappearing. Many have been melted down for silver. Others have been cleaned, damaged, or lost forever. But the few that remain, untouched, original, they are becoming harder to find with each passing year. And collectors know it. So what should you do? Look for the year 1942. Check for the absence of a mint mark. Examine the surface carefully. If you see dark toning, don't panic. Don't clean it. Look at the details. Washington's profile, the clarity of the text, the structure of the eagle. If those remain intact, you might be holding something extraordinary. And if you think you've found one, don't rush. Get it professionally graded. Protect it, because hesitation can lose opportunity, but rushing can destroy value. Because here's the truth. Some of the greatest treasures in the world don't shine. They sit quietly, darkened by time, waiting for someone to understand what they really are. And right now, one of these coins could be sitting in a forgotten box. Or worse, being spent by someone who has no idea what they're holding. Stay with me, because what comes next is the final coin, and it will shock collectors. Final coin. The room was silent. Not empty, but heavy. The kind of silence that only exists when something truly rare is about to be revealed. A small envelope was placed on the table, worn at the edges, as if it had been opened and closed countless times over decades. Inside, a single coin, darkened, aged, almost forgotten by time itself. It didn't shine. It didn't demand attention. In fact, to most people, it would look like something you'd toss aside without a second thought. And that's exactly why coins like this are still being lost today. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear is what collectors fear most. This is the 1934 Washington quarter, without a mint mark, struck in Philadelphia during one of the most economically fragile periods in American history, the aftermath of the Great Depression. Think about that for a moment. This coin wasn't just currency. It was survival. It passed through hands that were struggling, saving, sacrificing, and somehow, against all odds, a few of these coins made it through nearly a century without being destroyed, melted, or cleaned into oblivion. Look closely at its design. On the obverse, George Washington's profile stands firm, with liberty above, and in God we trust beside him. The date, 1934, marking its place in one of the most defining eras of modern history. On the reverse, the eagle spreads its wings with strength and authority, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of resilience during uncertain times. This design, it's familiar, too familiar. And that familiarity is exactly why people fail to see what's right in front of them. Pay attention to this detail, because this changes everything. This coin is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing approximately 6.25 grams, with a diameter of 24.26 millimeters and a thickness around 1.75 millimeters. The edge is reeded, often softened slightly in coins that have seen circulation. But what truly sets this coin apart is that lightly blackened layer spread across its surface. That deep, aged toning, almost shadow-like, is not damage. Most people miss this. That dark layer is natural toning, formed over decades as silver reacts to its environment. It's a protective signature, a confirmation that the coin has remained untouched, uncleaned, and authentic. In fine condition, where the details of Washington's hair are still visible, the lettering remains strong, and the eagle's feathers hold their structure. This combination becomes incredibly rare. And here's the harsh truth. Most coins from this era didn't survive like this. Many were heavily circulated until they were nearly unrecognizable. Others were melted down for their silver content, and a large number were cleaned by people who thought they were improving them, not realizing they were destroying their value. This is where fortunes disappear, because once that original surface is gone, it can never be brought back. Now imagine this moment. An elite auction room, quiet, intense, filled with collectors who have spent years chasing coins exactly like this. The 1934 quarter sits under a focused beam of light, its darkened surface absorbing attention, its history almost tangible. No one underestimates it. The bidding begins, slow, controlled, but it doesn't stay that way for long. A paddle rises, then another. The numbers climb. 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. The tension in the room tightens. Every bid feels heavier than the last, because this isn't just a coin anymore. This is a survivor from a forgotten era, a piece of history that escaped destruction, preserved in its most honest form. The price continues rising, pushing into levels that most people would never associate with a simple quarter. This coin has crossed 6 figures. It has sold for more than luxury homes in some places, more than investments people spend a lifetime building. We are talking about serious money. A 1934 Washington quarter, without a mint mark, with that lightly blackened natural toning, in fine condition, has reached an astonishing market value of $344,500. Let that sink in. A coin people ignore, worth $344,500. Do not spend this coin. And here's what makes this even more intense. Coins like this are disappearing. Every year, fewer remain in original condition. Every year, the chances of finding one decrease. But they are still out there, hidden in old collections, forgotten drawers, inherited boxes, even mixed into circulation where no one thinks to look. So what should you do? Check your coins. Look for the year 1934. Notice the absence of a mint mark. Examine the surface carefully. If you see that dark toning, don't panic. Don't clean it. Look at the details. Washington's profile, the lettering, the eagle. If they're still visible, you might be holding something extraordinary. Get it authenticated. Protect it. Take your time. Because rushing is how people lose life-changing money. And here's the truth that brings everything together. The greatest treasures in the world don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize them. If this video stops you from spending a fortune without realizing it, then don't ignore what you've learned today. Go check your coins right now. And if you find something unusual, something that feels different, tell me in the comments. Because stories like this don't just happen in auctions. They happen in real life. And if you want to keep discovering secrets that most people never hear, make sure you subscribe. Because the next coin you find might change everything.